What if I told you that addiction isn't what we think it is? That it's not a moral failing or a simple lack of willpower? What if it's something else entirely? Something like a scream. A scream you never even knew you were making. So, let's dive in. Just let that sink in for a second. That feeling of always running towards something that's just always out of reach. It's not really about the substance, is it? Or the behavior. It's about chasing a phantom, an echo of a feeling you can never, ever quite hold on to, no matter how hard you try. So, let's really sit with that question. What if this whole struggle isn't about discipline at all? What if it's actually a message, a desperate SOS from a place deep, deep inside you that's been trying to get your attention for a very, very long time?
All right, let's get into it. This first part is all about flipping the script on addiction, seeing it not as the core problem, but as the loudest symptom of something much, much deeper.
This right here, this is the central idea. The compulsion itself isn't the cause, it's the frantic, desperate attempt to fill a profound emptiness inside. It's like this silent roar from a hidden corner of your soul, just trying to plug a massive hole with things that can never, ever truly fill it. And it wears so many different masks, right? The bottle, the screen, the endless hustle. They're all just different ways of trying to quiet that same gnawing hunger. Each one gives you this fleeting moment of peace before the void comes rushing back, and when it does, it's usually bigger and a whole lot louder than before. And this, wow, this just illustrates the real battle perfectly. It's not some external war against a chemical or a behavior, no. It's an internal struggle with a ghost. It's an echo of a fundamental connection that was either broken or maybe never even fully formed in the first place. So, if the addiction is just the echo, what was the original sound? If we're fighting a ghost, then we have to ask, what is the name of this wound we're all running from? Well, in the language of psychology, specifically from a Jungian perspective, this void, this primary wound, it actually has a name. It's called the mother wound. And honestly, understanding this one concept, it might just be the key that unlocks this whole puzzle. Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. We are not talking about your actual mom, the person. We're talking about the archetype. It's that symbolic, universal experience of safety, of being seen, of being told you are enough, exactly as you are. When that foundational feeling is missing or broken or distorted, it leaves a permanent mark on the soul. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's night and day. On one side, you have this solid foundation of inherent worth. On the other, a constant, desperate search for something that was just never given. An adult carrying this wound can feel like an eternal orphan, condemned to endlessly seek outside validation just to feel like they even deserve to exist. So how does this wound actually manifest in our lives? Well, it puts on costumes. It takes on all these different disguises. This next section explores the various roles an addiction can play as a response to that original pain. Okay, so one way to see addiction is as a broken compass. It feels like it's leading you straight to destruction, right? But in a really strange way, it's always pointing back to the source of the pain. Every single relapse, every slip, it's the compass's way of screaming, hey, the wound is over here. Pay attention to this. Now, this is really interesting. Every compulsion has its own private ceremony, doesn't it? The preparation, the act itself, the temporary release. It's like a sacred act that's been turned completely upside down. You're seeking communion, a connection to something bigger, but you're doing it with contaminated materials, praying to the shadow instead of the light. And here's the real paradox. This destructive force, it can also be a form of protection. It's a brutal, clumsy guardian that builds this wall around that original wound, numbing you so that nothing and no one can ever touch that raw nerve again. In a really strange way, the very thing that's killing you might also be what kept you from completely shattering a long, long time ago. And then finally, the addiction becomes your identity. I am an addict. I am an alcoholic. And that label, while it can be useful sometimes, can also become the strongest prison of all. It can make you believe you are the cage, when the truth is, you've been holding the key the entire time. So, if addiction is a compass, a ritual, a guardian, and a prison, what in the world do you do? Well, the answer might not be to fight harder against these disguises. Maybe it's to go deeper, straight to the wound itself. The path forward is to become the very source of love you've been so desperately searching for. This is the real work of healing, and it's a journey. First, you have to stop running and finally dare to face the void, just letting yourself feel that emptiness without immediately trying to fill it. Second, you start to look at your compulsions not as failures, but as rituals to be deciphered. You ask them, what feeling are you really looking for? Third, you integrate your shadow. You welcome back all the broken, rejected parts of yourself you've been trying to push away. And finally, you give yourself the unconditional love you never got. You quite literally give birth to yourself. You become your own mother. And ultimately, this is the great shift. What keeps us chained isn't the substance or the behavior. It's the absence of a deeper purpose. When you find a greater meaning, a reason to choose life, even when it hurts, the compulsion starts to fade. Not because you beat it into submission, but because the light of that purpose simply causes the shadow to disappear.
And this is really what it all comes down to. The real work isn't just about quitting something. It's about having the incredible courage to sit in the dark, all alone with yourself, and truly listen to that inner cry that was never comforted. And then, slowly and gently, begin to answer it yourself.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. The scream, the void, the echo, it all belongs to you. And it might not be a curse. It just might be an invitation to go down into your own depths and come back with a strength you never ever knew you had. The only question left is, will you dare to listen?